Why is it that some men a woman forgets the next day, and others she fears losing for the rest of her life? The difference has nothing to do with looks or money. It's about something far more powerful. Let's get into it. Every woman, whether she admits it or not, will test a man, sometimes consciously, sometimes without even realizing it. These are not always deliberate games. It is her nature seeking reassurance. She wants to see what happens when pressure builds, when life doesn't go smoothly. Does he break down at the first sign of challenge? Does he beg for her attention when he feels insecure? Does he lash out in anger, proving he cannot control himself? Most men do. They crumble under stress. They lose their balance. They let raw emotion dictate their behavior. And in that instant, a woman sees weakness. She may not say it out loud, but she feels it deeply. This man cannot be trusted with my heart, my safety, or my respect. But the rare man is different. He feels emotions, anger, sadness, even jealousy, but he does not let those emotions rule him. He owns them. He channels them. He is the calm in the storm, not another storm for her to endure. This kind of emotional stability is magnetic. It makes him dependable, the one steady anchor she can lean on when everything else feels uncertain. And deep down, every woman knows, if life throws chaos, this man will not crumble. He will not turn against her. He will not make her feel unsafe. That is why emotional stability makes a man irreplaceable. It tells her, here is someone I can trust when I am most vulnerable. And trust is the foundation of desire. Because while attraction might begin with looks, it only survives with security. When she feels your steadiness, when she realizes her storms do not shake you, she cannot help but value you. And the thought of losing that stability, that rare strength, becomes something she quietly fears more than anything. Aimless men drift. They move from one distraction to another, always searching for something outside themselves: attention, comfort, validation. Their lives are filled with noise, but empty of meaning. They are easily swayed, easily consumed, and easily forgotten. But a man with purpose, he radiates differently. He doesn't wake up asking what the world owes him. He wakes up asking what he must do today to move closer to his mission. His life has direction, his vision gives him clarity, and his discipline sets him apart. He does not chase, he builds. He does not wander, he leads. This energy is magnetic. It draws respect before he says a single word. People feel it in the way he carries himself, in the certainty of his actions, in the fire behind his eyes. His purpose gives him weight, and that weight creates gravity. People orbit around him, and women in particular sense that his life is not random, but intentional. And women feel it instantly. They know when they are with a man who is simply filling time versus a man who is building something greater than himself. A man with purpose cannot be manipulated, cannot be distracted, cannot be owned, because his life does not revolve around seeking approval. His path is too strong for games, too steady for drama. And that makes him valuable. Because once a woman experiences a man with purpose, she knows she cannot replace him with someone who drifts aimlessly. If she loses him, she doesn't just lose a man, she loses momentum, inspiration, and the rare force of someone who knows exactly where he's heading. This is not arrogance, not loud bravado. Real confidence is quiet, steady, and deeply rooted. It is not in shouting, not in boasting, not in trying to dominate a room. True confidence is the calm presence of a man who knows exactly who he is and does not need the world's approval to feel complete. You see it in the way he walks into a room. He does not need to announce himself, yet people notice. His posture, his eyes, the way he moves without rush, it all speaks louder than words. Quiet confidence is power without noise. It is certainty without arrogance. It is the difference between a boy seeking attention and a man who already knows his value. You see it in the way he responds to challenges. A rejection doesn't break him. A setback doesn't destroy him. Instead of panicking or lashing out, he stays calm, composed, almost unshaken. And that composure is magnetic. Because women, and people in general, feel safer around a man who cannot be easily rattled. This kind of confidence cannot be faked. Arrogance is always a mask for insecurity, but true confidence comes from acceptance. From a man who has looked at himself fully, flaws and strengths, and decided, I am enough. That decision, that self-acceptance, creates an aura that no one can take away. A man with quiet confidence is untouchable. He does not chase validation because he carries it within. He does not collapse when criticized because his worth is not measured by someone else's opinion. He does not need to prove himself through performance, competition, or empty words because his very presence already proves everything. And this, gentleman, is why quiet confidence is unforgettable. It whispers, but its echo stays forever. A woman will forget the loud, arrogant man who tried too hard to impress, but she will never forget the steady, calm man who made her feel safe simply by being himself. True strength has never been about the size of your muscles or how much weight you can lift. Strength, in its purest form, is resilience. It is the ability to keep your ground when life becomes heavy, when others give in to fear or crumble under pressure. A strong man is not the one who dominates a room with noise, but the one who steadies it with his calm. Leadership, the same way, is often misunderstood. Many men think leadership means control, barking orders, forcing others to follow, or trying to win by intimidation. But real leadership is something far deeper. It is about direction. It is about vision. It is about being the one who can still see clearly when everyone else is blinded by emotion, confusion, or chaos. This kind of man does not have to prove he is in charge. He simply is. His composure, his grounded decisions, and his quiet certainty naturally draw others to look to him for guidance. He doesn't need to raise his voice. He doesn't need to argue endlessly. His steadiness speaks louder than words ever could, and women feel this immediately. A man with true leadership and strength creates safety without even trying. His presence alone says, "I know where I am going, and I will not collapse if you walk beside me." That security is rare, so rare that once a woman experiences it, she silently fears losing it. Because deep down she knows, men like this cannot be replaced easily. A man who carries resilience, who guides instead of controls, who strengthens instead of dominates, that is the kind of man who leaves an imprint in her soul. And if she ever lets him go, she knows she may never find his equal again. Most men give themselves away far too easily. They bend, they compromise, they accept behaviors that quietly eat away at their dignity. They laugh off disrespect, they lower their standards, they tolerate games, all because they fear losing a woman. And every single time they do this, they lose value in her eyes. She may not say it out loud, but inside she feels it. This man is weak. He can be bent. He can be controlled. But the man who respects himself, who stands firm in his worth, is a different story. He doesn't need to raise his voice. He doesn't need to argue endlessly. His boundaries are clear not because he shouts them, but because he lives them. His calm refusal to tolerate anything beneath his standards makes him rare, and women recognize this instantly. A woman knows she cannot play games with a man who has respect for himself. She cannot manipulate him. She cannot test him endlessly. She cannot pull him into drama and expect him to stay. He either elevates her or he walks away. Without bitterness, without begging, without hesitation. That reality changes the entire dynamic. Instead of thinking, "How much can I get away with?" she begins to think, "How do I make sure I don't lose him?" Instead of pushing his limits, she rises to meet them. Because deep down, every woman respects a man who respects himself. Boundaries are not about selfishness, and they are not about coldness. They are about self-worth. They communicate, "My time is valuable, my energy is valuable, my peace is valuable, and I will not give them to anyone who treats me as less than I deserve." And here is the paradox most men never understand. When you respect yourself enough to walk away, that is when a woman fights hardest to stay. Because she knows, if she loses you, she may never find another man with the strength to live by his standards instead of her approval. Gentlemen, remember this. Love without respect is fragile. Passion without boundaries is chaos. But when you carry both, respect for yourself and clear, firm boundaries for others, you become unforgettable. And in her heart, losing you becomes her greatest fear. A man who is selective with his time, his attention, and his energy becomes magnetic in a way most men never will. Not because he plays childish games of pretending to be busy, but because he actually lives a full life. He has purpose, he has direction, and he knows his value. And that changes everything. Most men give their attention away cheaply. They answer every message instantly. They rearrange their lives just to fit into someone else's schedule. They make themselves too available, and in doing so, they lose their mystery, their power, and ultimately, their attraction. But the man who carries scarcity is different. His presence is not something every woman can access at will. When he gives his time, it feels deliberate. When he chooses to invest energy, it carries weight. And that is why his presence feels valuable, because it is not handed out to just anyone. This kind of man doesn't need to prove himself by chasing. He doesn't need to constantly remind a woman of his worth because his very lifestyle already shows it. He is busy building, creating, growing. He is surrounded by purpose, and that makes him rare. And women feel this instinctively. They recognize that a man who is not glued to them, who does not collapse at the thought of losing them, is a man who has options, a man who is whole. And that realization plants a fear deep inside, the fear of losing someone irreplaceable. Because here's the truth. His time is a privilege, not an entitlement. His love is not casual, it is a treasure. His energy is not scattered, it is directed. And when a woman experiences it, she knows she cannot take it for granted. His absence becomes heavy, his silence creates longing, and the thought of losing him becomes a fear she cannot shake, because she knows men like him do not come twice in a lifetime. Gentlemen, hear me clearly. These traits are not gifts from birth. They are built. They are forged through discipline, self-control, and purpose. And once you carry them, you will notice the difference. Women stop testing you the same way. People treat you with more respect. And the fear of losing you becomes very, very real. So become that man. Not for her, not for anyone else, but because when you own yourself, the world has no choice but to value you. Subscribe now, because here, we speak the truths no one else dares to tell you.